Cyrus the Great, the founder of the Achaemenid Empire, is one of history's most legendary conquerors. His reign stretched from 559 to 530 BCE, and under his rule, the Persian Empire grew into one of the largest and most powerful empires the world had ever seen. Known for his military genius, strategic alliances, and innovative policies, Cyrus united the Persian tribes and expanded his territory from the Mediterranean Sea to the Indus River. Born as the son of Cambyses I, a Persian king, and Mandana, a Median princess, Cyrus was raised in an environment that mixed the warrior spirit of the Persians with the rich cultural traditions of the Medes. From an early age, Cyrus displayed a keen mind for leadership and innate ability to bring people together. It wasn't long before he became a prominent figure in the political landscape of the ancient world. As a young man, he worked alongside his grandfather, Astyages, the Median king, before eventually overthrowing him and consolidating the Persian and Median empires into one. Under Cyrus, the Persian Empire expanded rapidly, defeating the Medes, Lydians, and Babylonians in a series of brilliant military campaigns. His most notable conquest was the Babylonian Empire, which fell in 539 BCE. With this victory, Cyrus not only gained the rich city of Babylon but also extended his empire to include much of the ancient Near East. His success wasn't solely based on brute force. Cyrus was a master of diplomacy. He was known for his tolerance of different cultures and religions, allowing conquered peoples to maintain their customs and beliefs, which won him loyalty and respect from his subjects. Cyrus the Great's legend grew not only because of his military achievements, but also because of his enlightened approach to governance. He established what became known as the Cyrus Cylinder, which is often regarded as one of the world's first declarations of human rights. In it, Cyrus proclaimed the right of all people to freely practice their religion and culture, and he even freed the Jewish people from Babylonian captivity, allowing them to return to Jerusalem. His rule marked a turning point in the history of the ancient world, laying the foundations for a more just and humane empire. However, for all his success, the story of Cyrus the Great does not end in glory. As is often the case with great leaders, the question of how they fall is as significant as how they rise. Cyrus' fate, when it finally came, was not a result of betrayal from within his ranks or the cunning of a rival empire. Instead, it was an unexpected turn of events involving an unlikely foe, an outsider who would humble the great king. The man who would deal Cyrus the ultimate blow was not an experienced general or a rival king, but rather a nomadic warrior from the farthest reaches of his empire. Massagetæ. Led by their queen Tomyris, this fierce and skilled tribe lived along the steppes of Central Asia, beyond the borders of Cyrus' vast empire. The Massagetæ were known for their relentless warriors and unmatched courage in battle, and their queen was as formidable as any king that Cyrus had faced. Cyrus, in his insatiable thirst for more land and power, decided to conquer the Massagetæ. He had heard of their wealth, their warriors' skill, and their resistance to Persian influence, and he sought to add them to his empire. However, he underestimated the strength and resolve of Queen Tomyris and her people. She had warned Cyrus not to attempt war with her tribe, but his arrogance clouded his judgment, and he pressed on with his military campaign. Cyrus, believing he could easily crush the Massagetæ, challenged Tomyris to battle. As the two forces met on the battlefield, the Persian king, confident in his superior army and strategies, pushed forward, determined to capture or kill the queen. The battle would not only decide the fate of two empires, but would also set the stage for Cyrus' own downfall. The battle between Cyrus the Great and Queen Tomyris of the Massagetæ was as brutal as it was inevitable. Despite the vast strength of the Persian army, the Massagetæ proved to be a formidable opponent. The terrain was unfamiliar to the Persian forces, and the Massagetæ, known for their ruthless tactics, fought with an unmatched ferocity. Cyrus, renowned for his military genius, initially attempted to use diplomacy to win the battle. He offered Tomyris a deal. He proposed a treaty where he would allow the Massagetæ to maintain their land, and in exchange he would be given access to some of their resources. But Queen Tomyris, wise and proud, rejected the offer outright, warning Cyrus that he would not find her people to be easily conquered. Not one to retreat from a challenge, Cyrus pressed forward. What followed was a series of intense skirmishes that ultimately culminated in the Battle of the Sirdaria, near the river that would become a graveyard for the mighty Persian army. The Massagetæ, under Tomyris' leadership, employed clever strategies that disoriented the Persian forces. The queen's soldiers were experts in the art of ambush and used the river's harsh environment to their advantage. Cyrus, determined to break the Massagetæ resistance, ordered his troops to charge, underestimating the strength and strategy of his enemy. The Massagetæ, knowing the Persians' reliance on their cavalry, lured the Persian forces deeper into a trap. In the midst of the battle, Cyrus' forces were thrown into disarray as the Massagetæ closed in from all sides, overwhelming the Persian cavalry. In the chaos of the battle, Cyrus, desperate for victory, ignored the counsel of his generals. His forces were spread thin, and his overconfidence became his downfall. But it was not just the tactical mistakes that led to his defeat. It was the sheer determination of Queen Tomyris and her warriors that sealed Cyrus' fate. As the battle raged on, Cyrus found himself cornered. His cavalry, once the backbone of his empire, was shattered. His soldiers, exhausted and demoralized, began to fall back. The Massagetæ, with their unmatched resilience, pressed their advantage, forcing the Persian forces into retreat. But it was in the aftermath of the battle that the true tragedy of Cyrus' life unfolded. As his body was discovered by Queen Tomyris, she was furious. The Massagetæ queen, whose family had suffered countless losses at the hands of Persian invaders, vowed to make Cyrus pay for the lives of her people. With a brutal sense of justice, Tomyris ordered that Cyrus' body be exhumed from the battlefield. What followed was an act of vengeance so savage it would haunt the annals of history. In an act of deep symbolic punishment, Queen Tomyris had Cyrus' head severed and placed in a red-hot iron vessel, a cruel gesture meant to humiliate the once proud conqueror. As legend has it, Tomyris, standing over Cyrus' severed head, spoke words that would echo through history. "I warned you, Cyrus, that you would be defeated. I warned you that you would suffer for what you did to my people. Now you will be the one to suffer the fate of your own arrogance." For all his conquests, for all his triumphs and the empire he had built, Cyrus the Great was now reduced to a symbol of humiliation, defeated not just on the battlefield, but by the very vengeance of a queen whose people he had tried to conquer. His legacy, though vast, was forever marred by the manner in which he died, not as the great conqueror, but as a man humbled by a stranger, a queen whose kingdom was not built on riches or grand armies, but on the strength and pride of her people. The end of Cyrus the Great marked the fall of an empire he had spent his life building. His empire, once united under the banner of Persian greatness, was fractured by his death. His successors, though powerful, would never match his brilliance, and the Persian Empire would eventually fade from its pinnacle. In the shadow of Tomyris' revenge, the memory of Cyrus lived on, not as a conquering hero, but as a tragic figure undone by his own ambition and the will of an unlikely foe. The story of Cyrus the Great, his conquests, and his final humiliation at the hands of Queen Tomyris remains one of the most haunting episodes in history. It reminds us that even the greatest of men are not immune to the forces of fate, and that sometimes it is the most unexpected of adversaries who deliver the final blow.